Wow, you're actually into Skrillex? Interesting.
I like Skrillex, man. David,
I do
guess
too.
what?
I don't know, we're live. I can sense it now. You don't even have to tell
We're
me.
live for the first time in weeks since
Your voice
MLG.
changes, it goes up three pitches,
3 octaves.
3 octaves.
My
No,
cat starts dancing on the dresser.
sparks start flying out of my computer screen. Alright, so this is week whatchama,
14, episode 14. Intimate ZVX with Stoic. I am Stoic Nuvo.
I'm Stoic Regret, and this week is a special week. We decided to give you guys a special week because we took week off.
We took a week. We took like 2 weeks off because we had to get ready for MLG, gents, ladies and gents.
And when we say get ready, we actually mean, you know,
Mentally
buy booze
prepare.
and whatnot.
The
Mentally
way
prepare.
David went to the losers bracket in MLG, by the way, guys, was hilarious. He fucking was going Infestor Ling Ultra against VVV Glon, and he meant to drop his Ultra list den as soon as his hive finished, and he dropped another Infestation Pit. And then VVV Glon shows up at his base with a bunch of hydras and roaches, and David starts hitting the U button, and he had like 6,000, 4,000, and 100 supply.
6,000, 4,000.
And then he's like, "Where the hell are my ultras?" All we see,
Okay, but
we're standing
in my
behind him
defense-
like, "Oh shit, don't worry, all the ultras are gonna come up right in his face, and he's gonna win." And we're like, "Where are the ultras?" And then we see all these lings come out, and we're like, "What the fuck, David?"
In my defense, I was hammered. I was
And
actually hammered.
You killed his army twice, and then
Yeah,
he
but I had
won.
still a
It
minute.
was pretty funny. Yeah, and then you had nothing because he killed your bases. Anyways, okay, let's get into this game.
Lesson learned: do not drink before a match.
I'm gonna fade out this music. Boom. And first game is against none other than EG's IdrA.
Who?
Who?
Okay.
I don't know. So IdrA actually didn't do too bad at MLG. He beat Jinro and he beat Inori, who Inori took out Stefano.
Aw, goddamn, Stefano lost? No!
I was so upset, but yeah. This week we're gonna
John
do.
was upset. He broke a desk at MLG in rage.
All right. Without further ado, let's get into this game. 41 seconds.
Yep.
Faster time.
Wait. Yes.
Yes.
Is that normal? Yes,
Yeah.
that's normal.
No, faster. Faster is
I
normal.
know.
Don't go to
Just-
normal. Normal slow.
It's just, it would make more sense if Blizzard made normal the normal time. you
No,
know?
it's faster because it's ahead of real time. Normal is real time.
I know, but still, if the game was normally played at normal, it would make more sense.
Yeah, you could just put the timer at normal time instead of at. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. I'm gonna write a
Okay.
letter to David Kim.
I'm ready.
Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1, play.
I'm going! Just decided to yell that out.
Oh, this week's gonna be good. I can feel it.
Yeah, we have a full GM lineup. Oh yeah, and we forgot to mention, at the very end of our 4 VODs, we're going to be doing one, I got a text, Stefano game versus Pult in the
Stefano
lowest
versus
clash thing.
Pult.
My favorite replay. We'll talk about that in, I guess, video 5, so...
Vid 5. Yeah, we'll do an
Let's
extra
watch all the
VOD.
videos.
We'll do an extra VOD. We should credit Lone Star Clash for that. I don't know if they want us restreaming their shit, but
Yep.
who cares?
Okay, so this game I'm going to open 14-14, and the reason I do this is because I know IdrA normally against unknown players opens 14-14, so I really wanted to play a decent macro game, so I decided to open 14-14 because if I open 15 hatch blindly here, I'd probably end up doing something crazy like 17 pull, 17 gas, because I would know that he opens 14-14 into an expansion, and I just want to make it as even as possible, so... Rightfully so, we're both opening very similar builds now. My gas is slightly early. Idra's build allows him to get speed a little bit later, but it allows him to place his hatch down slightly earlier. So, very similar build-wise. We'll just see how it turns out. So basically here, because this is a ladder map, we don't know that it's cross-spawn yet, even though it actually is, which is great. So I do have to scout these 2 locations, to my left and to my right, with my overlords first. And if he's not there, then... the first thing I want to do is go up to 4 Zerglings, and then build my hatch at about 20 supplies, so that would be 1 extra drone. And the reason why you only want to build 4 first is because you want to know whether he's 15 hatching or 14-14ing first before you make additional lings, because you really want to make as little lings as possible if he actually is 15 hatching, because you want to kind of catch up in economy. So I'm only going to make 4 here, until I basically see his lings, which if we actually open mirror builds like we're doing here, we'll probably meet in the middle. So as you can see, his hatch should be a little bit earlier than mine, and he's able to sneak out these extra 2 Zerglings because his gas was a little bit later. But nonetheless, we're both going to expand roughly at the same time. He's just 1 food ahead because he has an extra 2 Zerglings. So.
Oh, I forgot I centered on your base. Go back to your view.
Alright, so I'm just going to wait until I scout something. Now I finally see his Zerglings. I see that he made 2 more than me. So now I can go up to about 8. You just kind of want to guess how many he's going to make. Now that I'm going to stop at 8, I'm going to build my second queen right here. Second queen is very solid. I just want to click on that gas to see if he's taking any more. So he's not taking any more gas. So I know that he undoubtedly expanded behind this, just like I did.
You should chase him.
Yeah. Okay, so we're both at 8 lings, and I know that. So we should be fighting here. I'm probably going to mess this up a little bit. Yeah, see, that concave on the bottom is very bad for me, so you never want that to actually happen. But it's not too bad, because we both have speed now, so we're able to use map control. There's no reason for me to lose these anyways, so me losing 1 more ling than him doesn't really make that much difference, because as you can see, he can't exactly attack me in this scenario. But if he picks up a drone, yeah, and he does pick up a drone. Okay, so that's a little bit sloppy by me. It's kind of difficult to deal with that many lings. You can look at it as if I didn't screw up the fight at the beginning, then that wouldn't have happened because our ling count would have been more similar and he would have been a little bit more cautious. So it's just small mistakes cost you a few things when you're playing very strong players. So I am building this spine crawler, and I do want to talk a little bit about this game because I did go over it a few times. His opening build is a little bit more greedy than mine, so he does get economically ahead a little bit more than I do. Just small things to note, I'm building this spine crawler as a safety net because he could be going Banelings. And he doesn't have one, so if I did put Zerglings back on gas here and Baneling West him, it would have been very difficult for him to do anything about it. So I do actually get a full scout of him at the time where Baneling Nests and gas should be retaken. So I know for sure that he's not doing anything crazy. And the reason I build this spine crawler is if you look at the worker count, if you press I always try to lose a drone into defense, static defense like this, whenever I think that I pulled ahead slightly in drones. So I'm really not playing greedy because I want this to go to late game, but that's going to hurt me here because he's actually droning fully behind this, whereas I'm kind of being safe and building spine crawlers with a little bit of Zergling help, just in case he decides to go nuts and just put down a gazillion Zerglings. So here he is playing a very, very economically risky strategy. He is going to be putting down his 3rd super early. Unfortunately for me, I did not scout it because my overload is a little bit out of position, but I do know generally what type of strategies are good on this map, especially because he techs so late. So I'm going to be putting down my hatch. And the reason why I put down my hatch here is because I just want a big Zergling fight. So this gives me map control. As you can see, putting this hatch down is very safe. Not only do I have the Zergling lead count there, but I was able to kill a few Zerglings, cancel a spine crawler, and put down all my tech structures. My Roach Warren, I'm taking gases again, and putting down an Evo chamber for late game upgrades. So what you always want to do in situations like this is make sure you know his saturation, make sure you know his gas timing. So sneaking a Zergling past here, I see that he doesn't take his 3rd and 4th gas, and he has a ton of drones at his 2nd expansion. So I'm fairly certain here that he expanded, and I'm fairly certain that he's going into a ground-based army and did not layer tech when I scouted those 2 gases. So I know that my gases will be slightly ahead of his. So I am fairly safe if he decides to do a huge roach bust because I will be able to make more roaches than him. And once I'm able to spread my creep, I also have 2 spine crawlers, which is just absolutely great. So he now scouts my expansion. I do have slightly more Zerglings than him. And now I have a few roaches out just to be safe. So now that I know that I'm fairly safe, I can go back to droning. So this is why I built 6, take my gases, and start upgrading and put down my 2nd Evo chamber. So the positioning of his spine crawler that I see with my overlord now, I know for sure that he did expand. So
he's droning like a motherfucker.
Yeah, so he's doing it a little blind, which is slightly greedy, but I guess it's a good way for him to get ahead economically.
It's a pretty big risk, I think.
It is a pretty big risk. I think this game I made most of my decisions based on what I scouted. So I wasn't too blind. He's slightly blind, but it is going to be successful for him in this game. He is going to pull ahead slightly economically, but we'll see how to kind of play off of that. Because you're always not going to be ahead in ZvZ. There's a lot of coin flips, especially when it comes to drone timings. You want to sync up? What time are you at?
I'll pause at 10:40.
Okay, call it.
What do you mean call it?
Say go.
Oh, I'm at 10:41. 3, 2, 1, play.
Okay. All right, so the focus here is I want to be ahead of him in upgrades. Now that I see roaches, I know he's going roaches. And I want to be ahead of him in bases. Now, it's difficult to be ahead of him in bases because he already has this drone economic lead. He's been mining slightly longer than me at his third base with slightly more drones.
Slightly. This fucker made 11, 12 more drones.
Yeah. So it really will. Games like this does come down to how the battles go. Concaves, positioning of hydralisks, extremely important. As you can see, I'm just trying to saturate my bases, being 100% sure that he isn't hiding a gazillion roaches. So setting Zergling in randomly just to make sure.
And he is not.
Yeah, so I do see his macro hatch. So I know that he won't be attacking me anytime soon because his macro hatch timing is fairly similar to mine. So our mindsets on what we want to do is very similar. We both want to go into the late game when we have 200 food armies, which is why the macro hatch goes down so fast. So at this point, what you want to be, what you have to watch for, the decision here basically is when can I switch to hydras? Because if he goes straight to 200 and builds nothing but roaches, if you decide to be super greedy and you start to build your hydra mass ball at like 130 food, then he will overwhelm you and just kill you. Whereas if he does something greedy and builds his hydra ball, as you can see, super early like he did, so again, he's playing super greedy, completely blind, in my opinion. Then if I was 200 food army right now and just walked into his face, then I would kill him. But luckily for him, I was doing the same thing as him. I wanted to go into a hydra ball, but I did it slightly later to be a little bit more safe. So now I finally see him going hydras, and I know I'm slightly behind now because he was able to make that transition a lot quicker than me. So you're going to see that's going to impact the remax value of this game. He will have maybe 600 more resources than me in both gas and minerals because his deposit was faster than mine. But luckily for me, I do have spines here, and it's very difficult for him to go up to the choke where he has to kill my rocks. So attacking me is not really an option at this point. It's just a few macro coin flip decisions that he made at this point that's going to give him a little bit of a lead. But basically, at this point in the game, it's going to come down to which fights you decide to pick, how you micro your hydras to keep their retention value, and how you decide to build units behind this. And I will take slight leads from my choices of either building hydralisks or roaches. And because they were slightly better than his this game, I do manage to get an advantage. So we'll go over my thought process of during fights whether I want to remax on hydras or remax on roaches. So the hydralisk remax value is pretty much key. It's basically the same as retaining your infestors, but they're so much more valuable because hydralisks don't run out of gas. So if they live, they're actually exponentially stronger than an infestor ball would be. So here I see him come here, and I have a lot better of a concave here, so I am going to fight for a bit. The reason why this concave better is because you see how he has half his hydras at the back that weren't attacking, and now I'm going to go up, and I don't know why he took this fight, but he already lost more than I did in the last one, so I'm able to attack up this ramp here because I actually retained most of my roaches in the last battle that we just did, and he didn't retain any of his. So the first thing I do here is remax all on roaches. And the reason why I built just 20 roaches here is because I did not lose a single hydra there. So I know that overextending here will lose me hydras, so watch my macro here. We're going to be looking at the production tab. Yep. It's basically going to be key as to you have to recognize during the fight, what am I going to lose here, and what do I have time to build? Because if you want to win the game straight out, you want to build units that are fast, like roaches. So as you can see, he kind of gets me out of position, but I do micro my hydras quite well. You want to stutter step them like marines. So you see how I kind of move him up the ramp like that and take big hits. Every time you do that, it's like stim marines. They actually do a lot of damage. So my hydras were caught out of position there, but me going up that ramp like that was able to snipe 3 or 4 hits off of my waves of hydras. So as you can see, I build the perfect number of hydras at this point. I stopped at just 6 because that's about the number I lost, and then go back to roach production. because if I didn't lose any hydras there, I want to build nothing but roaches because their units are going to be coming to me faster as a remax unit, which will allow me to apply more pressure to him. So I am getting an overseer now just to make sure that he doesn't have burrow. So now nothing but roaches because I retained my hydra count. So you always want to keep that in mind. And I know that seems like nothing. It's like, well, if I didn't build those 6 hydras and built nothing but roaches, wouldn't it be the same? Actually, it wouldn't, because you're about to see here, he makes the mistake by panically building just roaches way, way too much. And my hydra count is going to kind of overtake this game. So as you can see, he tries to move forward, and every time he moves forward, I move my hydras out of position, but you always do it as a stutter step. So you can see now I have significantly more hydras than him, about 6 more hydras than him, and you can see how devastating that is to this fight for him. So as you can see now, I'm only rebuilding 3 hydras, because that's about the number I lost. And
No way, you lost way more than 3.
yeah, but the point here is, no, the number I lost, I mean. And now I can see that I have full control over the front line, so that's why I built nothing but hydras here. Because I can tell that his remax of roaches here is not enough to stop my remax of roaches that I made previously, so I can build nothing but hydras now, because my roaches will be able to stay on the field long enough for my hydras to finally pop out. So as you can see, always repositioning hydras, make sure you attack once, stutter step, attack once, get into a nice concave position, and just keep pumping them out. So now I know that I have a nice number of hydras. I'm going back into pure roach production, and I was able to snipe that base, and now I am mining from the gold base. And because I have a gold base and I'm taking 2 more extractors, I'm going to build 5 more drones so that I can saturate those 2 gases faster. So everything going very smoothly for me, and that's just...
Whoa! So
Okay.
you were very much behind that game for most of it. It was like engagements were the key and how you used your units.
Yeah, there were a lot of decisions he made in the early game that gave him economic leads. I think they were a little risky. I'll have to go over it a little bit more.
Yeah,
Just something to
if
note.
you had just went
I had
straight
a,
to max off 2 base and just took a 3rd hatch in your 3rd,
yeah,
you could have just rolled them.
yeah, I took 1 spine crawler early to be safe, and by the time I built my 2nd spine, he just built his 1st spine, which I actually canceled. So that's very greedy. That's a lot more drones than I had. He also took his 3rd a lot earlier than me and didn't build roaches when I built roaches for purely defensive purposes so that I wouldn't get attacked. And he did start his Hydra Ball maxing at about 130 supply, which is extremely risky to do because, like I said, that timing on just going pure Hydras, if the opponent just decides to say, okay, fuck it, I'm not going to attack, I'm just going to build roaches, he actually hits 200 supply when you barely hit 160. And all it takes is a bunch of multi-prong attacks, and you have 10 roaches here, 10 roaches there. Hydras are absolutely horrible when caught out of position. But it was a good risk. He was ahead. But in ZvZ, engagements and macro in the mid and end game do kind of decide the game, even if you are behind slightly, especially with Infestor play. Like, this was Hydra play. If you make a wrong move, Infestor Roach against Infestor Roach, you can lose an entire ball of roaches literally just to fungals. So
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the next game then.
yep.